Hello, everyone. I'm Hannah, evolutionary astrologer, and today I want to share with you, I want to talk to you about how, astrology is so much more than just our sun signs. But first of all, what is a sun sign? Right? We hear this all the time, like when people say, most of us know our sun signs. So, for example, if I say I'm a Capricorn or I'm an Aries, I'm a Taurus, that's really talking about your sun sign. But, first of all, what is the sun sign? How do we calculate, the sun sign? So it's based on the position of the sun at the exact time of your birth. So, for example, if you say I'm a Taurus or my sun sign is in Taurus, this really means that when you were born, from the Earth's point of view, so we're really talking about our perspective of our solar system from our planet, from where we're standing. So it's everything that's from the Earth's position, the Earth's point of view. So from that position, from the Earth's position, when you're born, the sun was traveling through the constellation of Taurus. So this is why we say, I'm a Taurus, I am a Gemini, I am a Libra. And so a little fun fact is that this idea of your sun sign, which, that's another way to say your horoscope didn't really become a big deal. It didn't really become popular until the 1930s when this British astrologer, his name was R.H. Naylor, if I'm saying this correctly. He was the one who started publishing the sun sign columns and the sun sign horoscopes in the newspaper. And we got to think about how in the 30s, many years ago, there was no internet. So there was newspapers, there were magazines, and those were the ways we, books, that was the way that we really consumed information. So newspapers had an even bigger influence at the time than now, right? So this was such a breakthrough because it really helped to bring astrology into the mainstream, making it more accessible to the public than ever before. So the sun is super important. The sun it really represents our life force, our own personal sense of purpose, our creative expression, our personal contribution to life. So, of course, it's such an important force in our life. We should know our sun sign, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg, you know. So even though the sun sign is, it's what we recognize, it's a widely recognized, part of astrology, and it's a great introduction into the field of astrology, which is, I think a lot of us who enjoy astrology, who study astrology, who are interested in learning astrology, that's kind of like how we get started. We find out our sun sign and then we start to read about it and like understand more about it. And it's a great way of starting, getting started into this field. But we're so much more than just that, just our sun signs. And there's so many other factors, there's so many other celestial bodies that, shape our personality, our life experiences, our expressions in the world. So, just to give you some examples of other important factors, for example, the moon sign. I mean, the moon sign is so relevant because the moon speaks about our emotions, our inner self, our sense of safety, and how, the things that we like, the things that we connect with, the people we connect with, the things that we identify with, how we feel about anything, that's your moon. How we process emotions. Some people are much quicker to process things in life, and others need more time, And what do we need to process life? We go through the day, everything, so much happens. So it's like, what do you need? What elements, what components do you need to really process your day? Like all of this is your moon sign. Another really well-known one is the rising sign, which is also the same thing as your ascendant, which speaks about a new wave of becoming in this life, a lot about your personal development and really who you're becoming. Another, I mean, this one is so critical. It's your Mercury sign. You know, our Mercury is all about how we communicate, how we speak, how we listen, our thought process, um, how we speak with other people, how we, when we learn something new, it's like, how do we learn something new? Some people, for example, if you have a Mercury in Earth in an Earth sign, you're going to need a little more structure. You're going to learn things at a slower pace. You're going to need, a certain level of order around you to be able to learn new information and to really absorb and integrate new information. But if your Mercury is in a fire sign, your learning process is going to be a lot more experiential. You're going to be able to even collect more scattered information and bring it all together. So you're going to need to be hands-on about things instead of, you know, you're going to need more. Sometimes you're going to be able to like work with like music and things around you, and that there's going to be noise, and you're going to be able to kind of, integrate it all. So that's all your Mercury sign. Super important. Another big one, the Venus. Venus is our love language, is how we love, it's how we receive love, what we need to feel loved. So anything about our romantic relationships, our partnerships, all our interpersonal relationships, which is such a big part of life, right? That's our Venus and how we love, and also how, money, Venus is about financial themes, how we make money, how we spend money, our connection, our relationship with money, our struggles with money. A lot of this is in our Venus sign. And lastly, Mars. Mars is another really important force because Mars is our force. It's our drive, it's our passion. It's how we take action and go after what we want. How we initiate new things, new projects. When we want something, so it's like, how do you make it happen? And this is just to name a few. There's so many more. So at the end of the day, again, we're so much more than just our sun sign. We're really this unique blend in this beautiful mix of every sign, every planet, all these cosmic influences together, woven together in all sorts of different ways. So if we really want to truly understand who we are, who you are, we must consider every piece of the puzzle, especially like even just to think about as a human being, we're so complex. There's so many facets of us, right? We're not just one thing. We're not just an introvert or an extrovert. We're not just, um, you know, there's so many different components to who we are. There's so much complexity, and that's why the natal chart comes into play. But what's the natal chart? You might have heard about the natal chart before. Um, it's the coolest thing. The natal chart is a snapshot of the sky at the exact moment when you were born. How freaking cool is that? So just imagine that the moment of your arrival on this planet, we had this like cosmic photographer standing on Earth with this like super cool camera, cosmic camera that was able to capture an image of the whole solar system at the precise time of your birth. So it's a celestial picture. And the celestial picture isn't just the map of the stars. It's not just telling you the position of the stars and where they were and how they were, talking to each other, but it's you. It's your unique cosmic blueprint. So your natal chart is so much more than just a map for this lifetime. It reveals so much more. It shows the themes, the experiences that your soul has been weaving through many lifetimes. And this is, because when we look at the natal chart, there's going to be many different types of astrology. And each astrology is going to have a different way of looking at this cosmic blueprint. It's going to focus on different things. But evolutionary astrology, which is, what I adore and what I practice in my life in my own life, in my own charts, in my clients' charts, it gives us this deeper perspective on ourselves and our lives because it's the focus of evolutionary astrology is looking at the natal chart, but looking at the evolution of your soul, our soul path. So well, first of all, it's really saying that, the premise is that yes, we have a physical body, but we're so much more than just our bodies. Our soul is an eternal being. Our soul will never stop existing. Our soul is in this forever journey of exploration, growth, learning, experimentation, expansion. It's forever. So even though, yes, we're here and now, and it needs to bring information that is valid, that can help us in this life and in our everyday lives. But it also reveals, where we're coming from, what we're bringing, what are the themes and the experiences that our soul has been, working through and weaving through and experiencing and learning from in many lifetimes. So it ultimately holds these important keys that can help us discover and realize our innate gifts and abilities and capacities, and also highlighting the challenges, the struggles, the lessons, the things that we're here to grow through. So it's this magnificent blueprint of our soul's journey. It's like uniting past, present, and future. And, the more we understand your life and your soul journey from this like higher and deeper point of view and perspective, the deeper the self-understanding, the deeper the self-awareness, the deeper you're going to understand and bring these pieces in your life that maybe they seem disconnected, but ultimately they're all connecting and creating this big puzzle. Um, and this is the best part, to me, this is, I think, the most important factor in all of this is that when you do understand your natal chart, when you do understand your soul's journey, you can use this wisdom along with your free will. That's amazing. We have free will. And through our free will, we can navigate our lives with greater ease, with greater grace, and most importantly, with a deeper and higher alignment. So instead of fighting things, we can understand what is happening, what's coming, what has happened in our lives, and we can, just like a weather forecast, we can see ahead and be better prepared, right? We can identify these future cycles. We can track what's coming up. We can look back to the past and understand what was happening at that moment in our lives in a different point of view, more than just what we understood at the time. Um, and we can, this doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges and struggles, but we're going to have a deeper understanding of these challenges and struggles and of ourselves. And we can face them with greater awareness, with more resilience, and with the right tools. So free will, it's such a fundamental part of astrology. In my, point of view, it's the most essential one because ultimately we cannot change our charts, from the moment we're born to our last, breath here on earth. um, that's our chart. That's the what we're working with. That's us. That's me. That's you. But through our free will, we can we can understand our charts and we can align, we can make, good use of these energies or go the other way. We can, it's very much like, I always think about with our bodies, we have our bodies, we can improve our bodies, but we can't really get a new one. We have one body and that's it. right? So you can improve our body, we can bring health, we can bring good nourishment, we can bring self-love, self-acceptance, we can live a life in like adoration of our bodies and connection with our bodies. Or we can literally do the opposite. We can treat it badly, we can overindulge all the time, we can take it for granted, we can eat terrible food and get sick much faster. Ultimately, that's your body, and you have your free will to how you're going to connect, relate, and take care of your body. So that's the same thing with your chart. You know, the chart is like, okay, this is it. Those are the forces, those are the players, and these are the elements. But how are you going to respond to these energies? How are you going to express these energies through your free will and your decisions in your own, in your everyday life. So it's not something that's just out there on a piece of paper that you can't really, okay, this is cool, but it is about bringing this knowledge and bringing this, which is ultimately knowledge of yourself, knowledge of your path, knowledge of your struggles and problems and issues, but also knowledge of who you truly are, like your gifts, your capacities, what you carry within the richness of who you are. Because we all come here with so much wealth, so much wealth. For some people, it's going to be wealth of knowledge. Others are going to be wealth of, the mind. Others are going to be so empathic and have such a big, big heart. So we all have wealth within. We all have so much richness that we bring into this life. So to be able to recognize yourself, I always think that by understanding our charts, we get to recognize ourselves much, much faster. So, if you've never seen your chart, please check out my website below in the comments. You can cast your chart for free. You can see your chart. You can see your cosmic blueprint and the position of the planets. And of course, if you're ever interested in understanding your chart at a much deeper level, don't hesitate to contact me. You'll have my information below as well. And on that note, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed the content, this type of content, please also let me know. And don't forget to like it and also to subscribe to my channel. And I will hopefully see you next time.